spring is here and our alocasias are back. They are ready to take off this spring and summer. They've resurrected themselves from the dead, or as some may call it, dormancy. So now what? Alocasias can be a little tough. If you find that you're struggling with them, you might find this helpful. And thank you to the subscriber. I will put the comment on the screen because I can't remember her name, but thank you for requesting this video about alocasia care, specifically in regards to semi-hydro. I always appreciate getting requests from you guys because then it's like conversation. You know, I like the back and forth conversation. My love language is service. So if I do a video that's requested, I feel like I'm of service and it just makes me feel good and warm and fuzzy inside. So thank you. So I'm going to share with you a few things that I do to keep my alocasias looking fairly well. And then at the end, I'll share with you my actual alocasia collection. So one thing, and probably the most major thing that has helped me to grow my alocasias fairly well, is growing them in semi-hydro. And that is a really huge help because alocasias specifically do like to stay moist. Like they like to stay consistently watered, and if you tend to be an underwaterer, that can be a problem, and that might be why you're struggling, because you really, if you're going to use soil, you really kind of have to get the mix right, slightly more on the dense side, or you have to adjust your watering properly to again accommodate it staying moist a little bit longer and not having so much of a dry out period. They don't really like to dry out, okay? They like to just, you know, get a little drink consistently. So for me, semi-hydro just knocks that out. I don't have to worry about that. With semi-hydro though, you do want to make sure that you keep a reservoir. It doesn't mean that the reservoir needs to stay full all the time. What I do personally is right when it uses up all the water, that's when I'll go ahead and refill the reservoir. And the same with all other plants, leaving it a third of the way up the container. Now, I prefer to use pond with my alocasias. You can use whatever you like, but I prefer pond only because I feel like it holds moisture a little bit longer than leca would. Leca tends to dry out a little quicker and it has a little more aeration, whereas pond could be a little bit more dense, so therefore it just holds a little bit more water. So even if, like me, I still underwater, even in semi-hydro, it still is holding on to water in the center. If you've ever unpotted a plant that's in pond and you thought it was dried out, but when you took it out the pot, you saw that the pond was still moist in the middle, it holds on to moisture, and alocasias love it. They just love it. The root system on alocasias are interesting. They're not fine, they're just delicate, I guess, because the roots to me are a little bit more on the thicker side, but they kind of snap easily. But needless to say, in my experience, they love pond. So if you're going to try semi-hydro for the first time with your alocasia, definitely I would recommend pond for sure. Do whatever you like, but I recommend pond. And of course, when you pot it up, you want to make sure the pond is already moist before you pot the plant. If it's your very first time using semi-hydro, then I would suggest again using the moist pond, but just starting with no reservoir, just until you get comfortable. Once you get comfortable, then you'll be using that reservoir and it will be mindless to you. And the plant is gonna thank you. And ever since I switched my alocasias, because I had them for several months in soil, and ever since I switched them to pond, they've been loving life and they've stopped hating me and they look so much better. They started growing so much better because it has a constant access to water. So that's definitely the key. The main key for me with growing alocasias successfully is growing them in semi-hydro. And then when it comes to fertilizing, honestly, I don't do anything different with my alocasias. I use the same fertilizer that I use for all my plants, Jack's Houseplant Special. I don't notice any types of deficiencies or deformities with the leaves or them looking like they're lacking something. So I wouldn't say that they need anything extra heavy or extra special, just your, run-of-the-mill fertilizer that you're using for everybody else, they'll be happy with. I also feel that with semi-hydro, it has prevented my alocasias from going dormant. So in the winter time, your alocasias could die all the way back to a stump. I have never experienced that with my alocasias. Excuse me. I will also say though that I do now live in Texas, so doesn't get as cold here in the winter. I am in North Texas though, so it does get cold in the winter, just not as cold. So that is something to take into consideration, that even if you do have it in semi-hydro, you still might experience it dying back over the summer and going completely dormant just because of where you live at. The second key or secret to my alocasia care is sunlight and lots of it. I just don't let those dark and lovely leaves fool you. They can take a lot more sunlight than you think. So I have a black velvet. I'll throw it on the screen to show you where it lives at. My windows are very large, southwest facing windows. There's no obstructions in the windows, so direct sunlight comes in there. I have it sitting in front of the window, low in front of the window, so that high light comes right over it. Doesn't directly hit the leaves, but it comes right over it and it's beating, and it loves it. It does not turn, the leaves don't turn away, they don't bleach, they don't get burned. Matter of fact, I have a fried egg on the shelf and near that same black velvet, and the leaves turn towards, I promise you, I kid you not, the leaves turn towards that southwest facing window. Don't let the dark and lovely leaves fool you. They like a lot of light, okay? Now, does that mean that you should put it directly under a grow light? I don't know. I can't speak for your light. I can just say that if your leaves are not burning, if they're not bleaching, if they're not physically turning away, because they will, if they're not physically turning away from the light, it could use more light, most likely. And you kind of have to test it out. You just have to feel it out, you know, and watch the plant. Alocasias, as we may or may not know, they love to droop. They love to hang and droop. But I'm telling you, because I've seen it on my alocasia before, even though the petiole is real droopy, if that leaf doesn't like the light, it will literally turn away and face away from the light. If it likes it, it's going to be up. It may not be all the way up because the petioles are still just droopy, but that's how you can know, like, okay, is this too much light for my alocasia? If it's not giving you negative signs of too much light, move it closer to the light. Just give it that more boost of light and see what it does for you. And when you are able to give it more light, of course, that's more energy the plant is going to be able to use to create a larger root system. And when you have a larger root system, that takes me to my next point, that you're going to get pups, you're going to get corms, and the plant is going to become fuller. So the next key or point relates to the previous one, is potting up alocasias together, multiple plants in one pot if you can. Now, I don't know the science behind it. I don't know. I can't speak for the 100% truth and efficacy of this. I can just tell you what it seemed like to me in my perception. And when I had the black velvet alocasias, I had 2 separate ones and 2 separate pots. And they were in the one leaf club forever. Gain a leaf, lose a leaf, gain a leaf, lose a leaf. Crispy leaves, it was just unhappy. Potted them together, and now all of a sudden the plant is holding on to 2 and 3 leaves, but it is a semi-hydro, so that could also be a factor. But I have a fried egg who, same thing. It was one leaf club forever. When it pupped, now the main plant is holding on to 2, 3, 4 leaves, and I also have these pups. So I just think that in general, when you have a fuller root system, you have pups forming, it just promotes just a more, I don't know if it's an ecosystem, if it's a root, I don't know, but they hold on to more leaves. And the illusion, because now you have 2 plants in there. So if 2 plants have 1 leaf, it still looks fuller. So I'm just telling you, I'm just saying, if you can put 2 plants in 1 pot, it's gonna look better in your mind. And I feel like it grows better. I really do. I do. I feel like it grows better. You could tell me I'm wrong and I will probably understand and agree, but for right now, that's how I feel. So that's really it, guys, for what I do for the care of my alocasias. And ever since I've been doing these things and implementing these things, they've been growing very well. I have a few to show you, and I'm gonna go in the order of the ones that I've owned the longest to the ones that I've just recently got. And so once I decided to do this video, of course, I took the opportunity to buy some more alocasias because I just want to show you guys a variety, you know, and there's some alocasias that I have been wanting that I was like, okay, this is the perfect time for me to go and pick it up. So let me show you what I got. So this is my very first alocasia, my black velvet, looking stun. Oh, it's spilling on me. Okay, I just watered it yesterday. There we go. Looking stunning. There is 2 plants in here. Let's see if you can see. 2 plants in there, and it has 3 pups. There's one on that side that has the 2 leaves. There's another pup on this side, and then another one that's a 1 leafer right here as well. So this plant, look how lush it looks, but it's because there's 4 plants in here. It started off with 2, but look, each plant has 3 leaves with 1 on the way. Yeah, each of these plants has 3 leaves, one on the way. How many, you know how long I went with just 1 leaf or 2 leaves, but one always on the way out? Like, it's so annoying because it just never looks good. Pot them together. It's always gonna look better. Get you 2. Of course, some alocasias, you know, they're a little pricey, so getting 2 could be a little difficult, but if you get a corm or you see that it's pupping, you're gonna enjoy it so much more because it's gonna look fuller. I was actually about to throw this plant away because I was so tired of it looking raggedy, and I forgot why I even loved the plant until I potted it together in pond, and literally within like 1 to 2 months it started looking lush like this, and it's never looked back. And so it doesn't go into dormancy. It's always putting out new leaves. It put out new leaves all through the winter. The root system is great in here. I mean, it probably, you know, we probably could use an up pot. It probably could, but it's not showing. Let me see. I feel like the leaves, okay, so this is the newest leaf, and it is significantly smaller than this leaf. So maybe at some point I will up pot it, but I just hate disturbing it. I feel like if it's still growing, it's still happy, just let it be, you know? But the leaves are smaller, and we're starting to get a little bit of a long stem here. So it could use an up pot. It definitely could. But this is my black velvet. Very stunning dark leaf plant. I'm pretty sure I spotted some spider mites on it earlier today, so we're gonna have to take care of that later. And then my next oldest is this one here. I got this one very soon after. This one is not looking as hot. It's my fried egg, and this has had its ups and downs for sure. And yeah, it started off as one plant, and I went through the whole 1 leaf club for the longest time. This is like the most leaves it's ever held on to, even though these look like they're on their way out pretty soon. But look how nice and sizable they are, or were, I should say. But yeah, they look pretty good. And so this one took me a little longer to get together because I didn't have 2 plants, but it did start to pup. So I just want them to do their thing. You know, I don't want to take them out. And so that's why I have this one here as well. It's starting to, you know, mature itself. Well, very early. It's not even fuzzy yet. But the point is that it's going to be there. It's going to get to where I want it to be probably, I'm hoping, by the end of this summer. I think it'll be there. I think it could do it. I have faith in it. But the reason that this had a setback, okay, before this is making me think of something. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. So you see, this is the front of the pot, right? But look at how the leaves are facing. They're facing to the right. You know why? Because it sits this way and on the shelf, but the window is here. So this is what I mean when the leaves will turn to where they'll turn to the light if it's good light. If it was too much light, the leaves would be turning this way, but they're not. They're turning towards the light because they love a lot of light, I'm telling you. And these don't look, no, they're not bleached either. There's a little yellowing around here, but I don't think that's like bleaching from, I don't think that's bleaching from too much light. But anyways, I just noticed that, so I wanted to say it before I forgot. But what I was gonna say is that this had a situation where it was growing so well. The leaves were sizing up beautifully. I had like 3 leaves at the time, I believe. And then I was treating it for spider mites. And you see this is in a closed container. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention, and I let a lot of the solution that I was using to clean this, I think it was just like a neem oil, soap and water. I let a lot of it sit in here, and I completely didn't even pay attention to it, completely rotted the plant. Like literally had to start it over entirely. I lost all, I think I had like 1 root, and that had me starting all over again. And so that's why we're still, you know, kind of minimal. We're not as full as we could be, but I think it still looks good because at one time this was on a my sad plant list, and I think it's doing good now. No longer sad. Even though the leaves droop, that's just what alocasias do. I did have one other alocasia after that, probably either before or after. I never really learned the name of it. It was one of those alocasias from like Home Depot that they just say tropical plant. It was an arrowhead. It had a dark leaf. I think it had a purple back. And I did move here with it, but it had died back. And then I left it in the window and it fried. So I tried to switch that. I did switch it to semi-hydro, but I let it dry out, and it was sitting in the window in the middle of last summer in Texas. And if you know anything about what the weather was like last summer in Texas, it had no chance. So that's what happened. After that, my next oldest alocasia is a big girl, and so I can't have her here. I'll just put her on the screen. It's my Alocasia Regal Shield. I've had that for a little less than a year now. That is in soil. That is one of my only alocasias in soil, and as you can see, is because it's a very large plant. So there was no putting that into semi-hydro, but we went through some bouts. We went through some bouts of spider mites. That plant is what taught me that neem oil for spider mites works. So I love that plant for that. It has beautifully large leaves. It's pretty easy to maintain because it's already an established plant. So when that's the case, it can kind of handle a little underwatering because it's already such a full established plant. And yeah, I just water it once a week basically. When it's in the summertime, I may check on it like halfway through the week, and I usually have to end up watering it twice during the week in the summertime. But if you can see, hopefully I'll show it on the screen there, where it lives in my sunroom. And again, it's in front of a southwest facing window with no obstruction. So that big dark leaf plant is still super dark. I'm telling you, they can take more light than you think, and the leaves don't turn away. It loves it. Last summer, I want to say it flowered like literally 5 times. It was so annoying. It was so annoying because every time it flowered, I'd lose like 2 leaves, and when you try to remove the flower, like I'm not hybridizing alocasias, you know what I mean? So that was just like, it's pretty. I would leave it there, but then I would lose a lot of leaves. So I'm just saying that it loves all the light that it's getting in the sunroom. So give your alocasia some more light. After that alocasia, I did acquire a silver dragon that I'm doing for like some other little project, but it died back to a corm because I bought it as a rehab. So I'm not going to show you that because it's just the corm. There's nothing to see. It's just in perlite. And then I have some other corms that I harvested from it that are also in a prop box. They are popping up. Maybe I'll see if they have sprouted. Let's see. I don't think they've sprouted. What we doing? Oops, I took a leaf of something off. Don't know what that is. Where are they? Oh, they're so cute. They haven't sprouted yet, but here they are. You can see what may be a leaf pretty soon. That's the first one. Excuse me. And the second one. That's another really fun thing about alocasias is the whole corm process and creating a little plant from this little tiny corm. So yeah, that is my next alocasia. Now I have another one which also doesn't look great, but it's not because I'll just tell you why. I'll just show you it. I'm over here about to try to justify, but let me just show you. This alocasia is just, okay, so this it's still alive, even though it looks dead. This is actually a new leaf, this all white leaf here, which is exactly why this plant still looks like this. I've had this for months. It's a variegated fried corm, but I bought it unsprouted. Therefore, I knew nothing about what it would actually look like. It's a gamble with corms, okay? Like I saw the mother plant, but that doesn't mean the corm is gonna look exactly like that. Therefore, needless to say, however, thereupon, all of those words, it has only given me white leaves. I think one leaf I got was half white and the other was half variegated with some green, but then the next leaf that came out right after it is all white. So I don't know if this is ever gonna become something. I'm on the lookout for another one because I don't have high hopes for this alocasia corm. So if you're looking to be buying like some kind of uncommon alocasia, especially as a corm, beware. Do not buy it unsprouted like I did. Anywho, moving on to more positivity. I picked up 2 alocasias just for this video to show you guys a little more variety of the alocasias out there. And this one is one that I never ever see. I've only ever seen one person on the plant tube world, and even really on Instagram. I don't see it, and I don't know. Anyways, it's a alocasia golden bone. It's not looking golden bony right now. I'll show you in the picture on the side of what it looks like when it's just chef's kiss, like the golden striking veining. It's not striking right now, but picture in your mind, look at this picture. This is gonna be that. Hopefully if I can keep it alive. What's beautiful about the golden bone, as you can see in the picture, is the striking venation and the shape. So this can be a really big guy. I've actually had this on my wish list ever since I first started watching PlantTube. Before I even actually had plants, I was like, I need that plant. Like, it's so stunning, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I never saw it on Etsy. I never saw it on Facebook groups. I never saw it in stores. Like, I literally never saw it until I was looking for an alocasia scalprum, and I saw the person that I was looking to buy it from had this as well. So I was like, finally, like literally the only person I ever seen it with was Kevin from Hakuna La Planta, and he's in Canada. So I'm like, maybe they just don't have it in the US. I don't know, but I've got it. I'm happy I got it. I cannot wait to size this thing up beautifully. It came to me in like a little soil plug, and then I just potted it up into pond maybe a couple days ago. It was a little droopy right after I potted it up, but now it's pretty perky and it's looking good. I think it's happy with the transfer. The other alocasia that I got with that plant, because the person was doing like $20 seedlings, I guess they were calling it, $20 starter plants, they were calling it, for free shipping. So I got two. I really wanted a scalprum, they didn't have it. So I got this one here. I believe it's called an alocasia, either Prima or Prisma. It'll be on the screen, something like that. But honestly, it reminds me of the Heterophylla. So I have a feeling it's just the Heterophylla under a different name, which I do like the Heterophylla. I have wanted the Heterophylla, but I really wanted the scalprum for the shape and the dark leaf and the, you know, it's just a really cool looking plant. But I felt like this is the next best thing because they didn't have the scalprum. Someone did have the scalprum, but it was for $10 more than what I wanted to spend. So we just stuck with this one. But I like it. I do like it a lot. When I saw it, when I first saw the Heterophylla, I was like, I think that's an alocasia I want. But I just never actively searched for it. But I'm very happy with it. It looks so, so good. I love the texture, I love the color. The petioles are slightly darker color, so that's pretty as well. And same thing with this, it was slightly droopy when I first, a little more droopy than this, when I first potted it up, and now the petioles are quite firm. So I just have them living in my cabinet for now until they get themselves together. It is working on a leaf, which still looks good. I'm happy that it's not like getting mushy or browning or anything like that, like it's still firm. So I think it's gonna be good. I'm telling you, semi-hydro for your alocasias, they're good. So that's everything I know about alocasias and all the alocasias I have. I really liked doing this kind of video. So I was thinking of doing one for another genus, maybe like monsteras or something. So let me know in the comments below if you like that idea or if there is a genus that you specifically would like more information about and to see my collection on it. I would love to share it. And again, always feel free to make any recommendations in the comments below as to the content you would specifically like to see. And until then, I'll see you in the next one.